This is attorney author Herman Franck presenting my new audio book called Bad Daddy. Copyright 2013 USA by Herman Franck, all rights reserved. Dedication to Aglan and Sophie. About the author, Herman Franck is an attorney in Sacramento, California. He attended the Georgetown University School of Law, where he received a Doctor of Law in 1985. He also received a Master of Arts Economics from Georgetown University in 1985. Bachelor of Arts Honors, UC Berkeley Political Economy, 1981. Been a practicing attorney since 1986. Following law school, he began a second career as a writer and has written about a book a year since then, and now has 25 books, also a writer of screenplays, and has written 15 screenplays. He has also had a couple of radio shows, including Midlife Crisis radio show, East-West Marriage radio show, and White University radio show, and has produced a TV series based on his East-West Marriage program called the East-West Marriage TV show. More recently, he has created White University program to help women get married and stay married. www.wifeuniversity.com. And in connection with that, experimented with a new type of medium for him called the audio book. His first such book is Good Mom, Bad Wife, which you can see at that website. This book, Bad Daddy, is his second audio book, and here it goes. Chapter 1, Judge Me Kindly. I expect you to judge me, but please judge me kindly, gently, and recognize that in all things human, we are fragile. All things on earth can be seen this way. Look at the water. Even the smallest fish can crease the surface and split it and cause a wake, a ripple of waves. A minnow or a shark, a whale, they can all do the same. The smallest blade of grass, if you place it on top of the surface, will go through. But at the same time, however fragile the surface may be, it is also true that the water can be a great body, a strong body, and a body capable of doing many things. So within the fragile way of nature, there is also the strength and beauty of nature. So as we judge, let's please step back and realize that for every mistake, for every bad thing, there can also be a beauty, a strength. And in this, I want to share with you a story about a bad thing, a mistake that I made, and one which you will surely judge. And I just ask that you judge me kindly and realize that I too am of this earth. I too am human. And with every mistake that I have made and every bad thing that I have done, I hope somewhere in it there is a goodness, there is a reflection of the overall strength and beauty of nature, and there's a lesson that not only I can learn to help better myself, but in writing this, I hope to teach others to learn to better themselves. Let me proceed to tell you about the mistake I made, the bad thing I did. And please remember to judge me, but judge me kindly. Chapter 2, where it all started. I was looking for a wife. I was searching high and low in China. I'm not quite sure exactly why I am hooked on the idea of a Chinese wife, but it is so. I suppose some men like blonde women, some men like Mexican girls, some men like white girls. Perhaps there is a woman for all men. For me, and my own preference, it must be a Chinese woman. I have experience with this. My second wife was Chinese from Shenzhen, China. So I know we have 3 half-Chinese children. I have spent quite a bit of time writing about her and our marriage, and I do not intend to do so in this story, but I will simply refer you to my other audio book, Good Mom, Bad Wife, and you can hear about that story. I will also refer you to how to marry and keep a supermodel, another one of my books that is not an audio book, but it is out there. Those books tell the story of Sabrina and Herman. And to make a long story short, we married 14 years, 3 kids, divorced. Then I returned to the hunt for a new wife, and that hunt once again brought me to China. I did this through the Asian dating sites where, as some of you will know, men from the United States can find introductions to women in China and say hi, hello, and the women hopefully will say hi, hello back, and people will get together. Slowly, they will turn their emails on the website into email chats on some other chat system, such as Yahoo, MSN, Skype, or WeChat. It will develop into video cam where they will see eye to eye, face to face, and they can do this for hours on end and get to a point where they realize that there is a special someone there, and they both come to a kind of mutual understanding. You are right for me, I am right for you. The man will offer to travel to China to meet her, or the woman, if she's more daring, will invite him to come, or perhaps they will both say it in the same sentence at the same time. If it really goes forward, the man will fly to China, will meet the woman, and will have a week with her. And during this time, they will come to understand even better that they are the right ones for each other. Or, as it can be, sadly, they can also learn that they are not right for each other. Sometimes the relationship that can be had in a good way on a video cam, for some reason, cannot be had in real. This can happen. This is why the visit is so important, of course. Sometimes the meetings go in a kind of awkward way. People can talk for endless hours on a video cam, but then when they see each other for real, suddenly they're quiet and awkward and shy. And even though they may have even shared nudity on the video cam, when they see each other, they are shy to take off their shirt. And they remained buttoned up, sitting across from a table from one another, talking in a way that they had not talked before. Because today is a little bit more dangerous. Today might be a day when they have a first kiss, a second kiss. Maybe they will make love. And they will learn a kind of secret that they've held from each other, which is how they are for real. Will it work? Will it not work? Will the passion rise or will the passion falter? These are the risks of love. There must be this risk-taking, though. You cannot just be afraid of this. You can't stand back and say, but it might not work. If you apply that to everyday life, you should never even leave your house because it might not work. You might not get to your job. You might not do a good job at your job. Something can happen on the way. All kinds of things can happen to make failure. But we can't let that be the reason not to leave our front door. Love needs a risk taker. I have written this before. I will say it again. And that risk taker ordinarily will be the man. The woman will sit back in the comfort of her home and say, come to me. The man will leave his home, will pack his bags, will get the visa from the Chinese consulate, will get on an airplane and fly all the way over there. In this case, the city of Dalian. Beautiful city, lovely place. Flying first into Beijing, and then a small flight to Dalian. And at last, for the first time after many, many Skype sessions, face to face, eye to eye, giggle to giggle, laughing so many times, and being so overtaken by her. So much so that I would take this risk. I find, I see, I meet, I hold, I touch, I kiss the lips of the woman I came to know, so beautiful, so lovely, so perfect, not for the world, but perfect for me. Her name is Aiguan. It means love of sun. And for me, I was hoping to be that sun, to be high in the sky, going down on her, showing my own rays onto her cheeks as she looked up at me with her pretty eyes, her lovely face, her gorgeous body, and look up and say, I love you. And I would look down at her and say, I love you. This trip was a result of many, many discussions before. I think it must have been 100. During these discussions, we talked about anything, everything, and nothing at all. I will tell you, she is truly a beautiful woman. And for me, a kind of unique case, because in my own way, I am light with blue eye. My ancestors come from the northern part of Europe, Holland, the Netherlands. And it is often the case in nature that opposites attract, and it is so with me, as my first Chinese wife was from the south and was dark, and I liked the dark. The light often likes the dark. There's a beautiful mixture of the two. But this time, for the second wife from China, I would have a white Chinese, the kind of white you see in a pearl, the kind of white you see at the top of crashing waves, the kind of white you see in some special rock we call quartz. She was white, black hair, a beautiful smile, and spoke wonderful English. It was so easy for me to fall for her. After seeing her so often on cam, after listening to her sexy voice, and after enjoying her body. There's a new kind of woman in China. I will call her the modern Chinese. And I've learned from meeting many women who describe themselves as traditional Chinese that I much prefer the modern Chinese. She is an open woman. She's a woman that does not know the bounds of her ancestors, who may listen to her grandparents and listen to her mother, but she will do things that her grandparents and mother would never even imagine. And she will do this with me on video cam. You should see her without her shirt on. You should see the passion in her. You cannot fake this kind of passion. The mouth does not lie. The eyes do not lie. The face does not lie. My favorite language of all is what I call body language. And she had the kind of body language that told me in a very clear way, I want you. I need you. Come to me. She was not a young woman. She was 37. She had a son, 14 years old. Her ex-husband had died, and she was a widower. She seemed ethereal, out of this world. The love of sun, the love of earth, the love of beauty, and the love of me. I knew she was chased by many. A woman like this does not stay alone long. I also knew the others had come and gone, and she did not stay with them. She had mentioned to me about several of them. They wanted her. They traveled to her. She met with them, and then she sent them away. It just wasn't quite right. This thing we call chemistry, so hard to connect. It's like 1 in a million, maybe 1 in a billion. Maybe on the whole of Earth, there is 1, 2, maybe 3 people that you can find in this way, who you will connect to and stay with forever. The job of all people is to find that woman, to find that 1 in a million, 1 in a billion person that you will just connect to. And normally when you find them, you will see that you get that way right from the start. It doesn't develop. You don't work on it. It's not a job. It just happens from the start. Such was the way with me and Aguiland. Right from the start, the very first discussion flowed. She was so lovely. Her face was just so beautiful. She smiled, showed me without saying a word that I was the one. And I could tell I was the one from the first talk with her. I knew right away. I knew she couldn't lie like this. So many other women at the dating site had told me things like, I love you, I love you. And it got to the point where I started to see the words, I love you, almost like a polite greeting, almost like saying, hi, how are you doing? I love you. This would not be the way in USA. We would not do that here. You don't just walk up to someone and say, I love you. I've had this happen to me before. I heard this in Italy. Ti amo is the Italian for I love you. And women will very casually say that to a man they don't know that well. So I learned this way in China too. Just because a woman says, I love you, does not mean she loves you. She may like you, she may wish to greet you, she may be polite. But you can pretty much assume that the woman has many other chasers and that you are one of, well, I shouldn't say many, several. Let's say you're one of 4, you're one of 5. Don't despair over this. You are in competition with her. Do not walk away just because others want her. I remember something my ex-wife told me. Whenever she would look for a restaurant, she would always want the restaurant with a long line. So if there were 2 restaurants, one with no line at all, and the other one with a long line, she would say, I would rather stay in line because that means their food is better. And I think that has to be something recognized by the men chasing a woman. Just because a woman has others chasing her, don't shy away. This means she's hot. This means she's desirable. This means she's wanted. This means you have to get busy and be up for the challenge of competing for her and convincing her that of all her options, you are the best. It may seem like an impossible task because your own self-awareness may be humble enough where you think, hey, you know what? I really don't think I am the best. I think others can easily be better than me. Thankfully, nature has placed in us a kind of chemical that actually makes us delusional about our own self and puts in us the idea, however wrong, that we actually are the best. And we will go forward to a woman like Agwan and tell her and hope for her, pray with her, convince her, I am the best. She had others. She sent them away. He did not convince her they were the best. But when I was with her, by the time my trip was done, Saturday to Saturday, I had convinced her I was the best. I was the best for her. She knew it, and I smiled as she kissed me goodbye at the plane at the airport. I was going into the Dalian airport. I turned to her, and I asked her, yes? And she smiled with that gorgeous smile and said yes. I flew home with the excitement of having this beautiful woman in love with me. I flew home with the comfort and warmth of knowing that such a beautiful woman would marry me, would stay with me forever, and would never set me free. I would have her son. It was okay with me. I have 2 sons myself. They are about the same age. In fact, I had introduced them to her son on quite a few occasions. So they knew each other, and I could see that easily we could be what I refer to as a combined family. We have a new woman in the house and a new son for my sons to know. Aglan and her son, coincidentally named Alex, which is the name of my other son. So now we would have 2 Alexes, and nothing could be better than that. This would take a second trip to China to make final. I waited several months. During that period, she and I continued talking on a daily basis. I remember some of the uncertainty she expressed to me. Women are wonderful at looking at a perfect picture and finding imperfections. She was no exception. She wondered, will you accept me as a child? This is something I would like to explain to all of China and Chinese women. There may be a cultural issue or some other kind of issue with Chinese men accepting a woman that has a child from another. I want you to know the USA man does not have that issue. We will be happy to accept you with your child. And just so you know, I have experience in this. My first Chinese wife had a child, a lovely daughter, and I have to tell you that nothing pleased me more. In fact, I explained to her on many occasions, probably the best part of her was her daughter. And all that a child can do for a person and the development of that person. I know for myself, my children make me a better person. And I know for others, it is usually, not always, the same. Her concern was more, would my children accept her? And I explained to her, don't worry. You're not going to be their mom, just like I'm not going to be your son's father. So when we talk about acceptance, let's be calm about it. Let's not overdo it. Let's not think acceptance means you will call me mom, you will call me dad. My first Chinese wife's daughter, she doesn't call me dad. She calls me Herman, my name. We completely accept each other. We don't accept each other as father and daughter. We are two people living in the same house, respecting each other, feeding each other, and helping each other. That's the kind of acceptance that I'm talking about. And that acceptance can be easily done all the time here in USA. Now, I know of some unfortunate examples where it doesn't work. I've seen it. It could be a conflict between the, what we call stepdaughter, although I hate that word, or stepson, and I hate that word equally, and the step-parent. The conflict can be many different things. For example, a son who is close to his real father can have a natural issue with his mom's choice of a new husband. And that issue can just hang there like a dark cloud and become a problem every single day. That new stepfather, who's not a father in any way, shape, or form, can be impacted by that and can be very negative, rough, and rude to the boy. And the boy, who has no apology for not liking this man, can be easily matching in rudeness and negativity. It can go right back into that. And there can be a conflict that starts a fire, and that fire gets bigger and burns a forest, and the entire marriage comes down in flames. This was the very issue that was brought before us with Aglan as she began to question not so much whether I would accept her son, but whether my sons would accept her. Chapter 2, I don't belong. This is how Aglan put it. I don't belong to you. She would say this so often, I started to wonder how I could ever possibly get her to stop saying it. She explained to me what she meant by it was, look, your sons are very close to their mother, which, by the way, is quite true, and something that I openly promote. I don't want them to think poorly of Sabrina in any way, shape, or form. And I openly encourage them to be close to their mother. So yes, they are close to their mom. And I assured Aglan, look, you're not going to be their mother. They're not going to see you as their mother. I don't think she really needed that. I don't think she really wanted to be a mom to them. In fact, she told me, I don't want to have another child. Well, that became a kind of problem for me because I can tell you quite sincerely, one of my fundamental goals is to have a daughter. I learned this actually from my stepdaughter. I learned having her was such a blessing and such a wonderful thing that I very much wanted my own. She taught me that. Her name is Lo Chen, by the way. And I learned from having her that I wanted my own daughter. And I'd ask Agwan this, can you do that? Because, my idea was if you have a marriage and you share a child between your husband and your wife, there was a bonding created by the child that is permanent and will never go away. And when I say that, I don't mean to say you'll never get divorced, because of course we see divorce among parents very commonly. But I say it like this, that however much you may split with a man, your split will be less if you've had a child. I can say this with Sabrina. She's always family to me. And I don't cast her out. I have ex-girlfriends that I don't even think about, or talk about, or know about, or want to know about. Sabrina was the one and only that gave me children. And because of that, I'll always think of her and consider her as family, always and forever. Even as she remarries, I will smile at her wedding, knowing that she is in the comfort and good hands of a good man. As I would see my daughter at her wedding, I would smile, knowing she is in the comfort of a good man. I did not want a daughter with Aglan, though, as a way to bond us closer together. I was just trying to explain to her that this would be one of the nice parts of that. I wanted a daughter because I wanted a daughter. And I asked her if she would give me one. She told me no. And when she explained why, it had to do with this phrase I grew to dislike. Quote, I do not belong to you. I kept hearing that from her. And I kept wondering, God, how can I get her to stop saying that? How can I convince her she does belong? That there is a place for her with me. That my children will accept her and will accept her son. Alex will love Alex. My other son, Adam, will love her Alex. And I don't need her son to call me dad. And she doesn't need my sons to call her mom. We can accept each other as a new combined family. Everything can be in a good way. I told her over and over again, I just don't see the problem. What is the problem? I don't know if it had to do with this Chinese culture block that a man just will not accept a woman with a child. It might have something to do like that. I think it was more of her own self-confidence issue. She just simply did not believe, no matter how obviously a man would love her and want her, she could not believe herself that he would have her because she had a son. And I told her, look, sometime, somewhere, you're going to have to say yes. It had been 7 years since the death of her husband. He died of cancer. It's a very sad story. He's a good man, I'm sure. For some reason, it can be the way of God to terminate the good men, to let the bad men live forever and ever. Maybe it's just God's way of saying, I need him in heaven now. And I don't need this bad guy at all. I'll let him just stay on earth. But God saw that he should die and took him from her. And he went away and left her as a single mom with a lovely son in Dalian, China. She was a music teacher. She played beautiful piano and taught other children in this art. She was not happy living on her own in this way and hungered for a man. And when I say hunger, I want you to know this was a woman who was hungry. And when I say hungry, I don't mean for food. And I'm not talking about water. I mean hungry for a man. Hungry for the flesh of a man. Hungry to take him in, to open her mouth to him. An open mouth kiss, wet, tongue, holding, touching, initiating. Her hands would go into my pants before mine would go into hers. She knew how to hold. She knew how to move. She knew how to love, how to make love, how to want love, how to have desire and show desire. It was so natural and so easy for her. It was probably the ultimate in a contradiction that this woman, so hungry for love, so hungry for the touch of a man, who finally found that man who was equally hungry for her, who wanted her, who loved her hands in his pants, who loved how she unbuttoned him one by one. Top button, second button. She would stop and look with eyes on his chest, open his shirt up. Wow. I love that word, wow. Looking upon a piece of art at a museum is a similar process. You just look, you gaze. You know, it's one thing to make love with the lights off, turn everything off. Don't look, just feel and go. But for her, for Agwan, she wanted to see. You would never walk into a museum and turn off all the lights and stand before the artwork and imagine. She was the same way. She is a sun lover, a stargazer, and a person who makes love in the full light. Daytime love. Curtains open, sun coming in through a window, peeking on the bed, bright light. Whatever lack of confidence she had due to her having a son went out that sunlit window when it came time for making love. She was a show-off. She would take it off, lay on the bed, smile, twirl her finger, come here, come here. She knew how to take me slowly and fast. She had a beautiful confidence in the beauty of her body. She was erotic. She was really, in a way, like a movie star. The way you would expect to see a movie star make love is how she would make love. I can tell you that our human bodies have created a kind of hormone in us that is released during the process of lovemaking. It is called by some the cuddle hormone, and it is the hormone that makes you naturally want to just lay in bed and hold each other calmly, serenely, looking up at the ceiling as though there were words written. Often in this cuddle way, no words need be spoken. You remember what had happened and all the conversations that led up to this coming together. You can remember them very clearly and smile in the warmth. Arm around her shoulder, another arm holding her ass. We were faced in what's called a spoon position, her back to my front. She put her arm behind her back, holding the back of my neck. I would not walk away from her. I would hold her in this way, so warmly, so lovingly. I was in love with the woman who loved sun, and she was in love with the man who loved her. It was all in a perfect way. I can tell you about this cuddle hormone, something you may not know, so please consider this. It is also a truth-telling serum. I don't know if you've ever seen spy movies where you catch a spy and they want him to tell the truth, and they give him a shot of some kind of liquid, and that liquid makes him a little bit drunk. And during his drunkenness, the spy, who would otherwise never let a secret loose, starts talking. Well, in the same way, nature has produced this in us in the form of this cuddle hormone. It goes off in men. It's different, but it's the same idea, and it goes off in women. Each of us has something called a neurotransmitter. That means a communication device in the brain that is set off. And interestingly, it's the man's orgasm that will set it off. It's kind of like an alarm clock. Oh, time to set this off. And what it does for the couple is to allow them to lay and to hold, to touch, to feel, to be in the moment, not to be somewhere else. Words may be spoken, but often are not. They just lay there, heart beating, calming, coming back down, body sweaty, starting to dry. Go ahead, use the sheet to dry yourself. Dry your forehead. Don't worry about cleaning yourself. You can do that later. There's something set off by the smell of it all. It goes into the nose. There's a process that you do not want to stop. Let that happen. It's part of our nature. You must understand, nothing is by mistake. Nothing is by mistake in nature. It is all part of the design. Mother Nature wants us to just lay, hold, smell, feel, and remember all that happened to bring us together in this way. Remember all the conversations, all the love that was shared, everything good, and it all resulted in bringing two people together in this very special way. But during this time, there was a kind of truth-telling. And it's a very interesting opportunity for women and men to know the truth. Does she really love me? Does he really love me? Will she stay with me forever? Am I the one for her? Or am I just one of several competing for her that may or may not ever get her? I do not need to hear words to know the answer. I see in the body language, in the facial expression, in the way of the eyes. Eyes don't lie. I can see it plain as day. And she can see it too. She doesn't need to ask me, do you love me? She doesn't need to ask me, why do you love me? There are no questions of insecurity here. This is very secure. We're there to protect each other. She wants my protection, but I want her to know I need hers also. Please protect me in the same way that you would like me to protect you. We're not kids anymore. This is not 18-year-old lovers getting together. These are people who are adults. I'm 54. She's 37. We're not little youngsters. We are mature adults falling in love, and we see it as a kind of life or death. We must have this. And once you have it, can I just tell everyone this simple truth of life? When you have finally found that 1 in a million who is your right person, and you can see it not by what they say, but by what they do, how they lay with you, how they rest with you, the way the beating of their hearts can be felt against your own chest, the way you can look at them when you take their shirt off and you just think, wow, this is art. You're in love. He's in love. You have found the greatest gift that you can find on this earth. It's not going through the top university. It's not getting the top degree. It's not getting the greatest job. It's not playing the greatest song on a piano. It is finding that love. So please let me tell you a simple rule. When you finally found it, don't let it go. You hold that love. You never let that love go. When I spoke earlier of something bad and a mistake, it was not bad just by me, and it was not a mistake just by me. It takes two to be bad. It takes two to be a mistake. It takes two to fall in love and to make the bad mistake of letting it go, of allowing it to fly out that sun-baked window into the sky, up to the sun she loved, and to go away and never come back. She would not do this today, but there would be a day when she would let that bird of love fly away. And that event would trigger other events that I shall now